Everybody. Good morning. Good morning. We are here live to talk today about what has been going on in Edmonton's real estate market. Now, we're also going to talk about the West Edmonton real estate market specifically. So first, we're going to cover what we normally cover, which is all of the statistics for Edmonton and the surrounding areas. And we're going to talk first about the active listings that are currently on the market. That's how we always start our update with. So if you've been tuning in the last month, you've been seeing that the increase, there has been a slight increase in listings, active listings for single family homes in the last month. Every single week I've come on, the inventory for Edmonton single families has gone up slightly. Nothing to be alarmed of. And honestly, it's better that it's this way because it's a little insane. It's still, even though our market listings are a little bit more higher, that doesn't relieve the market from a seller's market to a buyer's market. We are quite far away from us becoming a buyer's market again. We're still very much in a seller's market. You see, last week was 1945. This week is 1980. Not a huge thing, but also not a bad thing. We still have a high demand of sales, and we'll talk about that in a second. If you look at St. Albert, it went down a bit. Sherwood Park went up. Spruce Grove went down, and Beaumont went down. So again, nothing too alarming. It is normal. It is May market. There's lots of listings that come on at this time of year. There's a lot more to come, I think, in May. And I predict, I don't have a crystal ball, but if I was to predict, June will probably get a little quieter and July and August will get quieter. This is based on just the normal market seasonal changes that we see every year in Edmonton. There's the exceptions, of course, and a few years ago when things weren't a normal world, this summer didn't go normal. But I will tell you, that's what I predict. So if you are thinking of selling, you really want to get that house on the market before it is the end of the month. So let's take a look at what's the pending sales in Edmonton for this last 7 days. You can see that we went up in sales. And like I said, this, even though the listings are going up, the sales are also going up. So the overall change and the delta change isn't a huge amount. Because if you think about it, we have more sales, but we also have more listings. So overall, there's still more listings coming on the market than sales, but not so much where it's actually pushing us from a seller's market to balance to then buyers. You right now as a buyer are looking at less options. When you look at a property and you love it and you're not quite sure and you want to wait, it's going to be gone. That's just the market we are in right now. You may realize after looking at a few more that you probably found the best one the first time. And so it's a real challenge to understand if it's important to you to look at a whole bunch of houses before you buy. You really need to talk about that with your realtor in terms of understanding what is the reason actually that you need to look at a whole bunch of houses before you need to buy. You also need to understand as a buyer in this market, you will very likely be in multiple offer conditions. That's just the reality of it. If you're in resale, if you're in new build, there's still the chance you don't have to be in multiples, but there's a high chance you could be also in multiples. They're not seeing, in my opinion, the same activity as the resale market because they're quite a bit higher in price. On average, their home prices are higher. And when we talk about the Edmonton market here, or West Edmonton market here shortly, I will talk about the specific numbers. If you have questions about Edmonton communities, just put in the comments and I'll be happy to address those neighborhoods today. We're focusing on West Edmonton. So if you look at St. Albert, Sherwood Park, and Spruce Grove, everything has gone up slightly, staying very consistent. Beaumont's exactly the same. So pending sales, very strong and very normal. And it is May. I'm going to be doing an April market stats here in the next week or so, and you'll be able to see, hey, what did the whole month look like? Because when we look week to week, that's one thing, and when we look month to month, it's another thing. So let's take a look at how many properties sold in this last week. And it went down a little bit from 284, 256, and then 23 from 31, 27, 25 in St. Albert. Sherwood Park has 24 over 18. Spruce Grove, 13 over 10. That's Beaumont. My numbers are all mixed up. Now, here's the thing that I want you to take away for the importance of the solds. What we are seeing is we are seeing offers being written. We are seeing not as many unconditional offers, so people are still writing financing and inspection condition. Good for you as buyers. Sellers, you don't have to worry because they need to do their due diligence, and very likely they're still going to remove conditions because they love the home. They were in multiple offers, but now they get the opportunity to make sure they know what they're getting themselves into. As buyers, this is good peace of mind for you to be able to do this. However, if you're in multiples, the recommendation is not to do the normal 2 full weeks of conditions, but maybe tighten it up to 7 days, 5 days, 4 days, whatever you can make work. And that's very important that you have the right mortgage broker or team that can get things done approved quickly, and also that you can get a home inspection booked quickly as well, because they don't necessarily have all the options to just book you in tomorrow. So that's something to consider as well when you're building your team and trying to win a multiple offer. Now, here's the thing. Why did some of the numbers go down? Well, week before we had different amount of sales numbers, and this number carries from the previous week as well, because if there is still offers that are 2 weeks conditional, these are the ones being lifted. Sometimes you're seeing offers needing an extension because the banks didn't do what they needed to do in the time frame required. So then they need to actually ask for an extension. If they get it, that's a question. If there's a bunch of activity and people ready to go, they may not give that extension. Granted, it's important to think about this. If it's a 1 or 2 day extension, you're done in 2 days, right? If you take a new offer, you're probably conditional for another 5 days, 7 days, 10 days. So it all depends on the situation and what is the best, what makes the most sense for you as a seller if you want to grant that. As a buyer, you have to understand we got to do as much as possible to get everything done, if not on the date, before the date, because you don't know what the seller is going to give or not give you. So that's really important to consider. The other thing I'm noticing is that financing, though it hasn't been as weak as last year, because I tell you last year, I seem to hear about deals falling apart because of financing all the time. This year, I didn't hear about it as much. However, it is still happening. And so that's probably why some of these numbers go down. They think they have a pre-approval. Maybe they told their realtor they had a pre-approval. Maybe the bank told you had a pre-approval, but they didn't actually approve you. And now all of a sudden things have changed and you're not approved. And so what is up with that? That is why it's so important to make sure this pre-approval that they're supposedly giving you is legitimate. So I know that I always want to check that out. If they're not working with my team, I need to talk to that bank, lender, or that broker to make sure they know what they are doing. Because guess what? People can unfortunately make mistakes. Or did you go and buy a car on debt all of a sudden since you got the pre-approval? Did you change your job? Is your down payment all of a sudden gone? Is your down payment even in Canada? We've noticed that sometimes people don't realize that they have to have their money here first. And sometimes you have to have your money here for a certain amount of time before then it is qualified to be able to be used. So there's a lot of different variables when you are looking at buying a house. And those are all important. As a seller, we can only do what we can do, which is vet out the offers based on a letter. But sometimes you can't prevent it because sometimes they give you all the things and it still doesn't work. So that is just part of the process. But working with an experienced realtor, you should be able to vet out that and mitigate anything, even if something does happen. We shouldn't be able to be out for too long. So if you're thinking about selling, it is definitely in your favor right now to sell a property, especially if you're in the price range between $300,000 to $500,000. It is the most hot market ever. 5 to 6. It's okay. It's better than it is usually. Over 6, it's quiet. It's you have to be careful of, like, if you're pricing over 600,000, you may be taking a lot longer unless your house is worth 650, 700 and you're pricing at 600. But honestly, the 600 is a slower market and it gets quieter and quieter as it goes up along the price range. So let's take a look at this compared to last year. Last year we had a slow start and then spring picked itself up. So you can see at this time last year to this time, it is very comparable at 256 versus 268. And of course, all the surrounding areas, it's pretty much identical. So this spring market is very typical from last year. So if you were looking in terms of the pace of sales, not the price is very different from last year, but the pace is the same. And we didn't have a whole lot of inventory last year either to begin with. We've had a bit of a shortage for some time, and it started a few years ago. And it never really kind of picked itself back up. All it did was it kind of evened out because the demand went down. The sales kind of slowed down because of all those crazy interest rate increases. And so it slowed it down, but it did not bring more properties onto the market, especially because why would somebody who has a sub 2% interest rate put their house for sale and sell their house and there's nothing to be had, and then they have to increase their interest rate to over 5%, 6% at that time. Now, things are changing because yes, the interest rates are still what they are. They're not going to go down below 2%. Very, very unlikely that that's even going to happen. I don't even think it's going to go under 3 or 4. I think it's going to stay in the 4 range. That's just my guess. I'm not a mortgage broker. I'm not a I'm just making my opinionated guess. When it comes to looking at your decisions on what you should do, you need to look at your personal situation. Hey, do I need to move? Is this house too small for me? Am I done renting? If I'm done renting, am I ready to take on the ownership responsibilities? Like, I don't get to blame anybody when something goes wrong. I have to be the one to take care of it. I have to have a savings account set up if something happens. You do a home inspection, but things can still happen. You own a property. Houses are houses. Sometimes things just go, right? So you need to make sure you have all that set up. So we're going to take a look at the West End neighborhoods right now, and I'm going to show you what's been happening in activity. Somebody asked me last week about the Hamptons, so I'm going to go do that first. And I do see you, Sean and Dongjin. We will get to your comments as soon as I go over the Hamptons. So we're going to take a look at the Hamptons market. And Hamptons, if you don't know where that is, it's West Edmonton. And actually what I'll do is I'll just show you quickly where the Hamptons is for those of you that don't live in the Edmonton area. By the way, this walking clinic is pretty decent. All right, so if you look at this, right here is the Hamptons, okay? This is the Anthony Henday. The West Edmonton Mall is here. South, like down under here, is going to be passing. As soon as you pass this bridge of the river, now you're southwest Edmonton. So you're technically still west here. This Edgemont is like still, it's very, very west. These areas are very west, almost southwest-ish if you think about it, how close it is to the river. But technically, I suppose it's still west. But you see the Hamptons is quite a large area. And this was not a new neighborhood, okay? This neighborhood has typically homes from the early 2000s. And the newer product would be Edgemont. That's on Hamptons. Edgemont has still brand new properties, but also homes that are probably 10-ish years old. Hamptons is going to be at least 20 years old, maybe some new ones. Again, depending on the section of the Hamptons. The Hamptons is quite large. Very, very active community league, very active neighborhood, lots of young families. There is a school. There's 2 schools in there, a Catholic school and a public school. They're very high demand to get into these schools. You do need to live in the Hamptons in order to go to the school. And then you've got the Grange, Granville, and Glastonbury. The infamous Costco is just right here. And so you can see Winterburn Road will take you there. You can also take the 216, the Anthony Henday. It will take you to where you need to go in the city. So all west, this is far west Edmonton, west of the 216. West Edmonton, I would call this area. And then I would call this east of 170th Street, I would call Central West. And this would be west. And this would be far west. So depending on our time, we will take a look at a few of the different ones and depending on what you guys are looking at. So let's take a look at the Hamptons here so that you can see what's been going on in the Hamptons area. The Hamptons has single family, duplex, townhouse condos, apartment style condos. We're just looking at single family. Now, just so you know, there's not a whole lot of options in the Hamptons. If you take this off, there's 9 properties, so none are pending at the moment. But if you're looking for a home 500 range, which is, I would say an average home in Hamptons should be in the 5s, but there's nothing for sale in that price range. You're looking at the stuff that's not in that range. So let me just go back. I don't think we need to go back that long. Let's go back 30 days and see what's happening. Okay. So if you take a look at what has sold, the lowest price point $348 for single family homes, highest price point $706, average $503, and you think, hey, I'd buy that for $503. Yes, you and everybody else. So if you take a look at the 500 range, they're decent homes, right? 17-ish, almost 1,800 square feet, 1,900 square feet, 2,000 square feet. And let's take a look at the year built. 2006, very typical. And then you've got one at 2014 square feet. And you can see that's a newer one. And these are ones. Now, this one I know came on the market. Look how quick these sold. 9 days, 8 days on market. That's including conditions. If there were conditions. This is 12, 11, 18. That means that pretty much as soon as it hit the market, it got an offer. So you got to be ready. These little signs mean it's sold over list, the green, and under list. And so if you take a look at this one, for example, what was it listed at? It was listed at $525, sold at $505. Oopsies. It's in a cul-de-sac. Nice home. A lot of my clients are saying, but Melody, I would have bought that. Right, but it's now gone. Just so you know, this is original cabinets. They painted them. I know in photos you might think, ooh, they're new cabinets. They're not new cabinets. So sometimes the look disappoints people when they come in, but if you understand they're painted cabinets, then it's still a very good condition home. I think I actually showed this property. So it's not massive, but it's a great starter home. And you've got main floor laundry. And then you've also got a nice sized bonus room. Looks like there's surround sound. And then this is the primary. And then this is the age. You can tell the age of the home with this tile. That's not horrible. And if you were to do some major reno work, it would come back to you. Bathrooms, kitchens, and flooring is the biggest thing. Now, let's go back over here. I'll show you guys what did the 706 house look like. So 2,600. So this is interesting. These two, because that's a bungalow. So these two are 2 stories, 2,400 and 2,600 square feet, sold for over 7. And then you can see that a 2,200 square foot one is in the 6s. It's still active. It's not pending. So it's, like I said earlier, 6s are a little bit more of a challenge. You can see there's a few here for sale. And then these ones, the biggest one was 2,100 square feet at 524. And that's just in April. That was just May 3rd. That's just a few days ago. It sold for 515. The 706 one has a triple car garage. Nope, double. Sorry, I thought that was triple. Nice. Oh, this is in copper, what it looks like. So they got the front patio, and then the office, curved staircase, which, by the way, costs quite a bit of money to do when you're building. You don't see that a whole lot at all these days. Plus, you need the space to do curved, and when we have these 0 lot lines, you can't have a wide house like this. So that's another thing. If you're looking for a wider home feel, because they feel very different, you're going to have to look at older homes or custom building a house. And even when you custom build, there's not a lot of lots that are this wide. And lots are crazy expensive. They have gone up. And in the new build world, just so you know, those prices are going to get reflected probably when the houses are done in like August, September, October. Those lots at least are 20 to 30K more. And so the builders will pass that cost on to you, including the cost of increasing building cost. So that's interesting. Okay, let's move on from the Hamptons because I see some comments that I want to talk about. So, Sean, in Harvest Ridge, Spruce Grove, a desirable community, and how much can I buy a detached house for? Not technically the West Edmonton, that is Spruce Grove, which is west of Edmonton. I can quickly show that to you, and then I'm going to go back to focusing on the west end of Edmonton. So, single family, Harvest Ridge. Let's take a look at what things sell for in Harvest Ridge. There are currently 14 active listings and 6 pending listings. And in the last 30 days, you have 16 houses that sold. Now, when you're looking at pricing a home, you want to look at comparables. Like you want to compare apples to apples, not just all of the solds. And that's what the realtor's job is to look and analyze the property, and also analyze the property based on the condition of the house you're looking at versus just looking at all the solds. Now, these are duplexes, so they're not detached. So we'll just move on up here. So the detached lowest price point home we're seeing for sale currently is $399. It's a bi-level, 1,400 square feet. Then you've got, this is a laned house with a garage in the back at $430 for sale. This one's pending at $450. The average price in Harvest Ridge is $459. The lowest was $334, and $680 is the highest in the last 30 days. But you can see the $450 pending, $459 pending. This was 6 days on the market, 9 days on the market, 15 days on the market. So if you're looking to buy an average home in Harvest Ridge, which average home I would say is around the 1,500 square foot 2-story mark, you could be looking at $450 to $465. However, the market continues to increase, right? Because this one is quite small. I'd say the 1,500 one, $465 to $475 is what you're looking at. And then 1,800 square feet, if you have anything for sale, which there is nothing, it looks like the $475. It could even push up to $500. There is that range. Like if you're in multiples, that could actually happen. Over 2,000 square feet, you've got one at $513. Now you have a few others here. It's a bungalow with two stories here at 1,800 and 2,100 square feet. I always find this interesting when a house hasn't sold and you increase the price. That's just interesting. 548, 575. Now these are bigger now and newer is my guess too. 2021. That's what that one is, 2014. And you can see, look at the sixes, they're pending here. 2,400 square feet. That's because in central West Edmonton, it would be more than that. These ones are 2015, 2011, 2023. You do actually have $1 million bungalow listed there, but it's active. All right, so hopefully that helps you understand a little bit more of Harvest Ridge and Spruce Grove. Now let me see this one here. In April, Edmonton's total sales was 31. Well, there definitely is more sales in Edmonton than Calgary because of our affordability. I'm seeing people who were going to come to Calgary have come up to Edmonton. We've helped some of those families ourselves. And so it's definitely getting more attention. However, it's still not Calgary. We're not an hour and a half from the mountains. We don't have the high-end property massive amount of inventory infills that Calgary has, and we're not situated or built like Calgary, so that's always going to be something that's different. Let me just see here. Yes, they have even less inventory for sure. And also make sure you understand as well, sometimes when you look at Edmonton versus Calgary, the numbers depends on who and is providing those numbers, and is it really a true comparable, or is Calgary counting things properly? Is Edmonton counting things? It's really difficult to kind of like do a true comparable. And do I see more out of province buyers compared to last year? Honestly, no. I feel like we saw a huge bulk of them in 2020, like 2 years ago, 2022, 2021, there was a lot. Last year, they started to come, like they never went away. I would say they're the same amount. Maybe last year was even busier potentially with that, but I still see a lot of that. I don't know if there's more or less. It's hard to kind of vet that out. People don't have to check off a box saying that they're from out of province or whatnot on the thing. But I definitely see a lot of people who watch our YouTube channel coming from there. So which area is expensive, west or north? It depends on the house you're talking about. But in general, we always focus on the west end as more affordable and value. Southwest is more expensive and north tends to be less. Now, if you're looking at north brand new, they can be just as expensive as west and southwest. Even southeast brand new is very expensive. However, when you look at resale, that completely changes so that's really weird, because when you buy and then one day you sell, you will be in resale. You'll never be a new house, even though you bought a brand new house. Even if you buy it and try to flip it does not work here. We are not Vancouver, Toronto, where you can do assigning. A lot of the builders will not let you assign properties at all. Now, I want to go back into the West End and show you the West End. So not far west, but west. And so I want to take you to look at Alder Grove. So I'm going to show you Alder Grove on the map, and I'm also going to show you it on the market. So Alder Grove is right here. I was just talking about the Hamptons. So we just go here. I tend to not love certain pockets of these areas just because there's super high density, and then it makes it more crime ridden, and then the value of the properties are different. So it's not the entire area, but just certain areas. So Alder Grove, when you look at that last 30 days, you can see we have, why is this not moving? 1, 2, 3, 4 properties, 5 sold. Average is $451, so it's still a decent price point, but I'll tell you, this has gone up about $10,000-$20,000. I've watched people price themselves out of the market. They want to spend $400,000, and now it's like $450 for the same house. So you can see here, 419, 436, 452. Now these homes are quite a bit older, right? They're 70s and 80s. They're not 2000s. This is the age of this neighborhood, but you can see lots of pending sales. There's like 2 active. This one just came on the market. So older kitchen, but painted. Vaulted ceilings will make this room feel a bit bigger than it actually is. And then you've got the door, the backyard. Carpets are more original. That is one. Oilers. Oh, by the way, there's a game tomorrow for the Oilers versus Canucks. And yes, I cheer for the Oilers. I do not cheer for the Canucks. Just putting it out there too. All right, so 434.9 is what I just showed you. The 1,248 square foot split level. For those of you watching that don't know what a 4-level split, it's measured by what's above grade. So whatever the ground is and above. So if 2 of the levels are below, those square footages are not counted. Sometimes 3 of the levels are counted and 1 is just the one underneath. We can see these ones. Let's say that the most expensive one was a bungalow, 1,500 square feet. Oh, it has had a lot of work done to it. It's very nice. No grass. You don't have to do any yard work. There's this concrete. That concrete's done, but sometimes like this is the part where I get worried about because it kind of falls towards the house. But they put all new siding, nice quiet street, nice outside, and look, they've done new floors, new paint. They put some built-in desks there. That's quite the setup there. And then you've got the dining room, kitchen. Oh, they've totally renovated the kitchen because this is obviously not a typical old style kitchen. There's a nice large island and pantry. So I can see why this one sold so quickly. And it's in the 5s, and it's located in Alder Grove, which is an area very close to the LRT and the mall. So it's easy access to the Henday. And I bet you this was in multiples. It says 539, didn't sell for... What was it listed at? It was listed at 539. Sold right at list. So it still could have been multiples, but that was like the max people were willing to pay. And then you've got the next one at 489. So that is kind of on the higher threshold when it comes to what's happening in Alder Grove. So hopefully that gives you some insight of what you can buy in Alder Grove. Now, if you go into Central West, that's going to be 1950s, 1960s. So you can see you get older and older as you go into Central Edmonton, and that's how Edmonton works. Thank you so much for watching. We are going to talk to you next week, and if you're interested, I'll probably be talking about Terwilliger area because it's another great affordable neighborhood in Edmonton. We'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.